welcome to another episode of Do You Really Know God? Tonight, due to the elections, we're going to have a little session of what the Bible says about voting and why we should, as Christians, vote. I'm going to start off by reading this verse. I can't even pronounce it. It is Escalestis. What is that?
The cellulites?
It's maybe cellulites 10:2. A wise man's heart includes him to the right, but a fool's heart to the left. Short, sweet, and this to the point. Basically, there is over 100 verses in the Bible about voting and why we should vote and things we should do to vote. One of the things that makes it so important to vote, according to the Bible and biblical, is you need the right person in there. And as a Christian, and as they talk about in the Bible, is whenever you vote, you're voting for the person who's the most righteous. And you want to put somebody in there who is going to be the most righteous to lead your country into a Christian or biblical leadership.
Right.
Not into a non-biblical. With that being said, we've seen a lot of controversy over the years with different presidents. Presidents that ban the Bible from the schools, ban the Bible from different areas of public places. And the Bible and Jesus and God basically want us to vote because we want to vote the most biblical person into power. To keep the Bible out there.
Right.
One of the problems in our country today is because we've been voting people in that have not been exactly biblical.
Well, one of the biggest phrases nowadays when it comes to the election and politics in general is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. But here's the deal, is lesser of two evils is kind of a phrase because you got a lot of corrupt politicians. But you got to look at certain things, like, I'm going to kind of be frank about this, with this election. A lot of people hate Trump, and they bash Trump. They do this about Trump, do that about Trump. They do Trump. Here's the thing. Trump is a Christian. Trump is pushing to expand the Bible in the country, and Trump is against abortion. Now, the other side, Biden, is trying to ban the Bible more, and he's also pushing for full-term abortion, which is big against the Bible.
Which pretty much means until the point the baby is out of the womb, you can abort it.
Yes. And there's a lot of sins right there in the Bible as far as that. So, with that being said, what the Bible is talking about, and this is, I actually watched an argument where somebody said, oh, if you vote for Trump, that's not Christian. Actually, Trump is the most Christian choice to vote for. So basically, Biden, in this election, would be the most anti-Christian candidate to vote for, due to the fact that he's going for long-term abortion, and he's going for down in the Bible and
getting God out of America.
Yeah, getting God out of America and religion. That is one of the things why the Bible is pushing for people to vote for their king or their leaders or who's in charge. But ultimately, it even talks about in the Bible that if your Christians get together and they start voting, even if evil tries to outdo them, God will step in and make it right.
Yeah.
Obviously, if too many people are on the evil side, well, there's only so much God can persuade. Well, is willing to persuade.
Right.
So in the Bible, it is strong for us to basically vote to get the most religious leader in head of the nation. There is so many over the years, so many different elections and different stuff that it talks about in the Bible.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, who becomes the king, like David was.
Yes.
And, different examples such as that.
Yes, and God appointed different leaders to lead the group and the most religious, and that's why God and the people chose David to take over.
And it's not necessarily the most godly person. It's more the person who best fits
the job.
Exactly.
And who's going to be the strongest, but also keep God in the equation. One of the things that we have slacked over the last 4 years we did okay, but before that we slacked a lot when we voted in somebody else who basically was pushing to basically big time get the Bible out of the schools, get the Bible out of public's eye.
Wasn't there a time not too long ago, probably about 2011, 2012, where they wanted to get in God or one nation under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, well, they're trying to do that, and Obama also pushed for getting in God we trust off the dollar bill.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at history, our nation was founded on Christians.
But you know what? We're starting to get better on that, because I was watching the election results, and Mississippi, along with the presidential race, they also had a vote for the state flag to change it. It used to be Confederate with a Confederate flag in the corner and some blue design on it.
Yeah.
They changed it to now it's a magnolia, and underneath it says, "In God We Trust."
Okay. But our nation was founded on Christian beliefs. George Washington was a real big Christian. Benjamin Franklin,
Thomas
Jefferson. All our the founding fathers, believe it or not, if you read up on them, there was 372 founding fathers that was part of the Declaration of Independence and who was involved with writing the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
Out of the 372 of them, 368 of them were diehard Christians. If that don't tell you something, I don't know what it does. They based everything on Christian belief.
Not only that, you look back at why we declared independence and why we tried to get a colony. All because of religious persecution and the king saying, you need to be this religion.
Yeah. And taxes, obviously, of course.
Taxes was a big part.
But with that being said, is we need to vote on leaders that are going to be Christian-based.
Yeah.
That's going to keep our country going in the way it's going. Because you look at America, how great things we've done over the course of the years. America was one of the greatest nations ever to exist.
Yeah.
And we've always been a Christian nation. Over the last decade or so, we fell away from that beliefs. And if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, I know, well, you're still young, but I noticed over the years, since they've been pushing away from Christian beliefs and taking the Bible out of everything, there's been big changes in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And not for the best.
No.
By far for the best. This country's on a downhill spiral. So we need to actually choose the right leader to lead this country. And the right leader is the one who's going to go in a Christian way, which you may hate me, but to me, he's Donald Trump. And you can talk to any religious leader about that. Most of them ain't going to say it because they're not allowed to say it in church about their beliefs. about the beliefs of the system, but pretty much in the Bible, I mean, he is pushing to get the Bible reinstated in the schools.
Yeah.
He's actually pushing during whole COVID-19. He was the only one pushing to have churches as a central place.
Yeah, and another thing is, I think it was 5 days ago, President Trump appointed a new member of the Supreme Court.
Yep.
Who is pro-life.
Yes. And what he's been doing is he's been running a strong campaign against abortion.
Yep.
Whereas Democrats are running a strong campaign
for
a full-term abortion.
Yeah.
So I watched, like I said on that Facebook post the other day, yesterday, this girl actually said, if you're Christian, you won't vote for Trump. No, if you're Christian, you will vote for Trump. If you don't vote for Trump, you are not a true Christian. If you're voting for Biden, you are not a Christian. You are not a true Christian. You are voting to kill babies.
But this podcast is not a political episode.
No.
This podcast is about your biblical
rights.
Biblical what the Bible says about voting.
And biblical about voting. But here's the deal. The reason why I'm just using them is because this is what's going on with today. For today, we got the presidential races going on.
Which a few states need to hurry up on.
Yeah. But here's the deal with it is I'm just stating out points of if you want to speak in the Bible and voting, the right candidate to vote for would be Trump due to the fact of what he stands for.
Right.
As far as the biblical. I'm not talking about his money and stuff he's done in the past. We're talking about his biblical stance that he's been standing for while he's been in office, and he's been following through with getting it done.
Yeah.
Where he has been pushing to open churches. He's been pushing to get the Bible back in schools. He actually fought against taking In God We Trust off the dollar. He's been pushing and pushing more and more for everything religious. He's been anti-abortion. He's been fighting on abortion against it. So you got to look at it as a Jesus-following Christian of the biblical version of it. I'm not even talking about the man's past or Biden's past. Biden's past. I don't care about the past. I'm talking about what they are fighting for agendas.
Exactly.
And Trump's agenda is to get rid of abortion, where Biden's biblical part is to have full-term abortion. They're two totally ends of the spectrum. Biden also wants to drop Christians as their primary religion from the United States. And Trump is pushing to make Christians still the main religion of the states.
I think that part is really based on facts. Like, if Christianity isn't the main religion of this country, then there's no reason, personally I believe, on paper for it to say that. Like, if, let's say, now this is obviously not the case, but let's say more than the most popular religion in America, let's say it's Muslim, then I'm a strong believer in putting that down on paper and making that known to everyone. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we have to keep it that way. That's something we should work on, and we should try to get people to see the right way. But
here's the deal: is our country was founded on Christian beliefs. So, I mean, America's open to all religions. Any religion's allowed. We do not prosecute your religion. You're allowed to believe any religion you want.
Yep.
We're not like China, where if you say a religion that we don't agree with, we're gonna behead you or stone you. We're not like Russia, who's gonna force one religion on you. In America, we have open religion, which is fine. You can have your religion and your religious beliefs.
Yep.
But as a nation, it was founded as a Christian nation. As far as a nation, it should stay as a Christian nation because that's what's got us through the last several hundred years.
True.
Is being a Christian nation. And that's what our founding fathers actually made this nation, was a Christian nation. So therefore, we should stay as a Christian nation. You can come in and have your own churches or your own synagogue or whatever you may have and believe in your own religion. You don't have to follow the Christian religion, but as far as the country's base should be Christian.
Yeah.
And Jesus once said, when you're going to build a house and build a foundation, do not build it on the sands, because over time the sand is going to erode underneath the foundation and it's going to collapse. You find the hardest, strongest rock and you build your foundation on the rock.
Yeah.
Well, America, we built on a rock. Now we're trying to move the foundation to the sand. It's not a smart move. It's just not a smart move altogether. So, should you have gone out and voted? 100%. Everybody should vote and vote for the candidate. Don't need to mean you have to get onto Facebook and start argument over everything, although I like to start them and then leave them. But as a Christian, I feel strong beliefs that I should use my Christian and my biblical reasoning to put it out there. And if people don't like it, that's fine with them. They don't have to like my views. But remember, when you don't like my views on something, you're also not liking Jesus Christ's views. That's your little meeting that you're gonna have to have yourself with Jesus Christ.
Right.
And that's between you and him. It's not me to judge. I'm not gonna judge you because you voted for Biden. That's you. That was your choice. You just have the answer to later on for why you did it that way. It's not my choice. I mean, my job to stop you from having an abortion. I can tell you why not to. I can urge you not to, but I can't force you not to. But in the end, you got to answer to God at the end of the day. When the time comes, are you comfortable facing Jesus Christ and say, yeah, you know, I killed my baby right after he was born. I don't know if I want to be in that conversation there. That's one area where I don't think I want to face.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the unforgivable sins. I don't know. That's one that's probably going to be up there. I don't know if it's unforgivable, but it's up there, I'm sure.
Oh, well, I mean, it goes right along with murder.
Yeah. It's full murder. And you got to think about, when we talk about abortion, you hear girls' sides of the stories and girls try to say, I mean, there's so many different ones. I've seen so many arguments about abortion on Facebook over the last 2 days. It's my body, my right. Okay, you can think that. But no, it's not your body, your right, because the second you made that decision to play and then get pregnant, you just gave up your right to your body. Because technically your body is not your right. Your body is Jesus Christ's right. Your body is a temple of God, and he chose to put a kid in his temple to be born.
Well, I think, the way I think about it now, I don't know if this option was available back then, but I think of Mary whenever I think about abortion. She didn't ask for Jesus. She didn't even know about him until one night she was sleeping and some guy came in her room and said, hey, you're pregnant now. And, kind of ran away. And so, I don't know if they had that back then, but think of what would have happened if she aborted Jesus.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I don't know if they had abortion back then, but...
Granted, yeah, I'm sure God would have just found someone else and just been like, all right, you don't want him? Sucks to be you.
But here's the thing is, like I hear all kinds of things. I hear the stories of, there was one argument of somebody was saying, well, you got Plan B. Rather than abort it, if you had unprotected sex, go get Plan B.
Same thing.
You have the option of Plan B, it's not really the same thing because it's not aborting the kid. What it's doing is preventing the sperm and the eggs to meet. So it can go either way. I've heard people say it is abortion, same thing. Other people say it's not. I don't know enough science behind it, but a little bit I know, supposedly it prevents the sperm from fertilizing the egg. So technically it's not abortion because it's not a life yet.
Well,
the second the sperm gets in the egg, that's when it's officially a life.
Well, I'm not no science major or nothing, but from the way it was taught to me through sex ed and all that is within a couple hours of having unprotected sex, that's when the egg is fertilized.
It can
That
be up
could
to
be
24 hours.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's all really a judgment call at that point.
But here's the thing: if you got option of Plan B, and this person was talking about it, and this one girl's like, "Well, I'm on birth control, but no," she said, "What if I get pregnant and I don't know up to 4 or 5 months later?" And the other girl said, "You kind of know like right away if you had unprotected sex." So that turned into a discussion. Then one girl came up and said, "Well, what if you have irregular periods where birth control don't work for you?" And the other girl is like, "Well, you always got Plan B." Well, I ain't taking Plan B every time. You get a condom. You put a condom on.
There's plenty of options.
There's plenty of other options. But then somebody else had a good point. Okay, what if somebody got raped? Okay, let's put that into factor. Even a rape baby, personally myself, if I was a woman, if I got raped, I would still have the baby. That's my opinion. I've talked to many other girls who would too, because it's still a living form. That's part of you.
Yeah.
But there are some girls who they wouldn't want the baby. But here's the deal. You know you got raped. You went to the hospital for a rape kit. You can have Plan B right there. Have it into you before anything happens and you're done with it. Then you don't have to worry about abortion 4 months down the road.
Right.
1, it's less painful. 2, it's less headache. 3, you're a lot more morally accepted as far as it, because you never got pregnant.
Yeah.
But on top of it is, people don't realize this. There is only 3 days in every month that a woman can get pregnant. It's only 3 days out of the 29 to 31 days there are in a month. There's only 3 physical days a woman can get pregnant. So, if you know your body...
That's scientifically accurate?
That's 100% fact. That's medical fact. And it is 14 days. It starts from 14 days before your period starts. You got a 3-day window to get pregnant. So,
really,
if you actually know your body and learn about a little bit of medical, you can know what days you can get pregnant on. And you know what? Learn abstinence for a couple days. If you can't go a couple days of being abstinent,
we got some bigger problems.
You got bigger problems, and you need Jesus a lot more than what abortion can do for you.
Exactly.
The other thing is like it says in the Bible, if you're not wed, you shouldn't be having sex anyways.
Yep.
So there is many moral and biblical things around this. So when you want to talk about candidates and different things, throughout the Bible, throughout the years, God really pushed for people to vote for who He's going to lead them. And there's many scriptures about what you want to look for in a leader.
Right.
There's one scripture in Psalms, I can't remember, I think it's Psalms 29:1, says, "A good leader, everybody rejoices. An evil leader, everybody moans." So, with that being said, you want to pick the leader one, obviously one that's going to lead correctly and lead your nation into the right directions.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure they're leading your nation into a biblical direction.
Yeah, you want to make sure they're leading you into the right way. Because it's just like any situation. whether it be, in school or, at work, wherever. If you don't have a good leader, you're not going to get stuff done. And if you don't get stuff done, you definitely don't get it done right. And that's what you need, is that good leader to make sure not only that stuff gets done, but that it gets done right.
Yes, and for the right reasoning. We as a nation have grown very soft over the years. A lot of people don't vote because they say, why should I vote? My vote don't matter. 100% with people where the way our voting system is kind of...
It never comes down to one vote.
Yeah, but it's such a bad system that they need to learn to change. Because if they went with the popular vote instead of electoral votes, it would be 10 times more accurate. And your votes would count a lot more.
Yeah.
So, they should, and to me, I think it would be a lot easier than, okay, this person got 5 million votes, this one got 5,000,001 votes. He wins.
Yep.
Over, this person got 6 million votes, this person got 4 million votes, but the one with 4 million votes won the presidency because electoral states.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as accurate, but here's the deal. Everybody says, my vote won't count because I'm only one person. But now you figure if you have 300,000 people that say the same exact phrase and don't vote. Now guess what? You're not one person no more.
That's 300,000 people.
You're talking 300,000 people. That could make the biggest difference between who wins and who loses.
Yeah.
And then you don't vote. And then your candidate don't win. Now you're going to sit there and complain that your candidate, that person that you wanted to win didn't win. You have no room to complain if you didn't vote.
Yeah.
So that's another thing in the Bible that they talked about is Jesus actually talked in a parable. I can't remember exactly what one off the top of my head, but he talked in the sense of if you do nothing to select your leader, you have no say in whose leader gets selected. Which is 100% right. If you did nothing to get your leader elected, you have no right to complain about who actually got elected.
Exactly.
So if he does stuff wrong, so well.
And that's the thing, if you're not willing to fight for your leader, how good of a follower are you?
Yes. And bottom line, too, on top of it, and this mentions in the Bible, no matter who you pick as a leader, God is the only king.
Yep.
And he's the king of all kings. So, basically, with that being said, too, in the one verse that talks about that, is you need to pick a leader that's going to understand God is king. And a leader that's going to follow God to lead him in the right direction.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense to me because if you get the right leader who's going to recognize that, hey, I'm the leader of this nation, but God is the leader of this world.
Yep. Of this universe.
In this universe, everything, that I'm just a mere peon compared to him. I'm going to talk to God and ask God, what should I do in each situation? You know what? You got a smart leader. You got a leader that's going to lead this nation into greatness. Exactly.
You got a leader that's going to truly lead this country in that whatever situation
or whatever land, yeah. And you got to think about it is we all want God's help. We all pray to God to help this nation and to do this. But we can't have God help this nation if we're not willing to help our nation ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you pick a leader that basically wants to kick God out of it, what he's actually in turn doing is saying that he is above God.
Yeah.
And when he's saying he's above God, there's another sin here. We're worshiping
a false idol.
A false idol, somebody above God.
Yeah.
So again, we're talking about another sin. So why should we vote? It's pretty cut and dry that you want to vote, one, to get the right candidate in there, but to get the right candidate for God in there. someone that God can work with to help mold and lead your nation.
Yeah.
Whatever nation it may be.
Yeah.
Without getting the right one in there, you might wind up with the Antichrist, like Nazi did, Hitler, back in the 20s and 30s. You obviously don't want to do that, because then you got a whole nother ball of wax that's opened.
But in the Bible, it says multiple times that as Christians, we have not in these words, but almost an obligation to vote.
Yeah, pretty much in those words, it gives us a pretty good that it's pretty much an obligation to vote. Got Timothy 2:1-2. First of all, then, I urge that the supplicants. Oh boy.
It's been a long day.
It has. And of course, I'm getting all these big words. Supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and defiant in every way, dignified in every way. It's basically telling you that if you get the right people in there, they're going to lead by God, and that's where you're going to live a peaceful nation and a quiet life with dignity. And the other ones that I told you about when righteousness increased, people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. That's Proverbs 29:2. I said Proverbs 29:1. So it is 100% fact that God wants us to vote. I mean, there is no questions in it. I mean, there's many things that he says about voting. You got Proverbs 21:1, which is, the king's heart is a stream of water in the hands of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. And so, well, if you look at all the different things in the Bible about voting, they all basically say the same thing. Basically, what you want to do is you want to get the most righteous person in there. You want to get the person in there, one that's going to be a strong leader for your nation. But you also want to get the most godly leader in there, so he can have God help lead the way. So basically, you are not idolizing the leader of your nation. You're idolizing God. You're just putting a middleman to lead the country into success. So over the years, I mean, there's been so many controversies with different stuff, and like you said earlier, you picked a least of two evils for candidates, which is 100% true, because no candidate is 100% perfect, because obviously Jesus Christ is now running for president.
He should, though.
He should, but he isn't. So you do got to pick the lesser of the two evils. And one of the things I always base on is what type of agendas are they shooting for? Are the agendas going for the best of what our nation should be? And are they going in a godly fashion, or are they going the opposite way? And those are the two biggest questions. And you got to look at like different candidates. Certain candidates are like fighting against God.
Right. Whereas others are trying to not necessarily fight for God, but maybe fight more in God's honor.
Yes, and going more in a biblical fashion rather than against the biblical. Lately, there's way too many candidates that are fighting against biblical. Lately, for some reason, it's like a big thing in the Democratic Party where they really want the Bible out of the nation for whatever reason, don't know. But most of the candidates in the Democratic Party have been very open in saying that they want to drop God from our agenda.
You're right.
Right there is something that we need to basically get out of office and go for it. Yes, some Republicans are with the Democrats about that, but the majority of the Republicans are not. They're fighting for more of the Bible to get back into America, and they're fighting for against abortion, and they're fighting to get Bibles back in the schools and back in the public eye, and to get churches open, and to help churches open more.
Right.
And those are the candidates that we got to stop watching on. And that's what God is looking for us to vote for. And that's why he's saying that he wants us to vote.
Right. And it doesn't matter what party or what, what they are. It really just depends on what their beliefs are.
Their beliefs in the leadership, the directions they're going to take.
Yeah.
I'd rather vote in a man who is imperfect with a bad past, but who fights on God's side, who I know is going to get in the White House and rely on God on giving him the right answers, over somebody who basically thinks he's a great leader, but he's going to take us down the path of a non-godly country.
Right.
Because as you see in the last decade, this country has had a president that really took this country to an all-time low because he fought so much to get the Bible out of everything and God out of everything.
Yeah.
Which is going to take many, many years of healing to get that back up and to get God back into the country. And that's going to get God to actually help us as a nation again. But right now, I don't think God's helping America too much because, quite frankly, we haven't deserved it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more fighting against them. And if you think about it, I'm thinking if we keep going on the way it's going, if we're going to be another, what is it, Sodom and Gomorrah?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, that's it. We're going to be another one like that. God is going to eventually be tired of America and say, sorry, guys, you're done. I gave you enough chances. I gave you enough chances. Here comes your great flood. See ya.
Yeah.
Have a nice life. Which he has done in the past with nations. So we got to start thinking about that aspect too when we're thinking of our candidates to vote for. Jesus made it very clear too on what is Caesar's, we should pay Caesar. What is God's, we should give God.
Yeah.
And what he means on that is you got to do things of your nation as you should for your nation. You got to give your country what your country deserves. You got to follow whatever. We got into a discussion the other day on Facebook about different holidays, whether or not we should be celebrating.
Yeah.
Yes, you should, because God says do what your nation does. So if your nation celebrates a holiday, yeah, you should celebrate that holiday because that's what your nation does. But if there's a biblical holiday, yes, you should follow that too because that's what your Bible is telling you to do. Because Jesus says, what is Caesar's is Caesar's, and what is God's is God. So you gotta separate the two, and you gotta do both.
Right.
Because that is one, being an obeying servant to your nation, which you should be obey your nation, but you should also obey God. Obviously, obey God over your nation. But usually, if you look at anything godly, it does not conflict with your nation. God and your nation actually works together.
It should, yeah.
With the right control. This is a tough topic.
Yeah.
The thing
There's
is,
only so much you can cover with it without
well,
constantly repeating yourself.
and it gets to the point where trying to drill in your head, should you vote? Yes. It is in the Bible that you should always vote. It's pretty much in the Bible of who you should vote for. And it's kind of written in Scripture without giving names, but telling you where to go. I mean, it does tell you to vote for the left, not the right.
Right.
Saying the right's of fools. So, with that being said, I mean, if you look in America, that's the Democrats that are fools. And lately, the way they've been acting, and this is weird because as a young child, the Democrats were never like they are today. They were actually a decent party way back when. Now they're like, I don't know, they're in left field somewhere. They somehow lost their course and kind of went in the woods and found their way back out. So with the Bible, what you got to do is follow the side that's gonna bring you back to the biblical nation that we should be. There's just so much torment in this country that needs to be fixed. The only way we're gonna get it fixed is with God. The only way that God's gonna fix it is if we get Him back into our lives. And I don't mean just in our personal lives, because I know a lot of people have God in their personal lives, but we need to get it in the whole nation's lives.
Right.
Like one nation under God again, and not just one nation individual. So I guess we'll cut this podcast a little bit short, due to the subject and the times that we're on.
Yeah. You got a comment section?
On my comment section, I basically want to know, well, not don't want to know, but basically in my comment section, I guess I kind of want to know, as a Christian, did you vote? And if you didn't, I want to know why. Simple, short, quick.
I'm going to have to go with the same because you stole both my ideas that I was hoping you weren't going to take either.
Well, because, I mean, as Christians, we should want our leaders to be, to guide our nation in a godly manner.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to do that is if we vote, and we vote the right people into play to do that.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to keep my same comment section from last week is let us know what you want to hear about, because with this week we didn't really have too much of a idea of what we're going to go with.
And we didn't have a lot of time to plan because there's so much going on this week with work and obviously elections going on. And
yeah, so
much going on this week. For sometimes, I mean, we don't have time to sit down and plan it.
Exactly. So I, kind of make it a little easier on us. Also let us know that, you're listening and stuff, but just what you want to hear. What's going to keep you guys interested.
But we also want to know, like, we don't want to beat the bush on stuff that you already know.
Exactly.
We want to help you in areas you don't know. Questions you may have, different areas you may have concerns with or not enough knowledge about. We want to know about them so we can actually help you in areas that you need help in, not just be telling you stuff that you may have heard 19,000 times already, and you're like, dude, I already heard this one. This is old news.
Right.
We want to help you understand the stuff that you don't understand.
Yeah.
That, I guess, have a good night.